Today, we're turning our attention to staying safe this holiday season as alcohol is involved in roughly 40% of traffic deaths between Thanksgiving and New Year's. That's according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. I'm Jody Kenny, and on this Sunday's In Focus, State Assemblymember Bill Magnarelli is here. He tells us his plans to improve traffic safety as the Assembly Transportation Committee Chair. Plus, Assemblyman Magnarelli also talks about how drug driving will be taken into account this year with the legalization of marijuana. And later, DMV Deputy Commissioner Mary Tanner-Richter is also with us to discuss the impact of the Buzzed Driving is Drunk Driving campaign. All that and so much more happening now on In Focus. All right, let's begin today's conversation with Syracuse State Assemblymember Bill Magnarelli. Assemblyman, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so as you know, we're discussing traffic safety during the holiday season, and there's going to be a serious impaired driving crackdown this year. Can you explain why this is so important?
Well, you know, from what I've seen personally, people are just not paying attention. First of all, personally, just not paying attention in the car while they're driving, and just not paying attention to the laws that are out there. So I think I think we're overdue for a readjustment for everyone to take a little more care in what they're doing when they're behind the wheel. I think everybody I've talked to has seen an uptick in everything from speeding on our highways at speeds that I can't even imagine why they're driving that fast. And also on our city streets and local roads where people are just not stopping at stop signs, going through red lights. It's an across-the-board problem as far as I can see.
I agree with you. The legalization of marijuana in the state has added an extra level of possibility for impaired driving. Could you talk a little bit about the burden on law enforcement and how they should plan to be extra diligent this season?
Well, it's not just, making marijuana legal. People have been using it for many, many years, whether it was legal or not. I think what is tough for law enforcement right now is being able to stop people, and if they are impaired, getting them off the road and charging them with an offense. I basically have a bill that's before the legislature right now that would help in that situation. Right now, if you're pulled over and an officer feels that you are impaired in any way, the only way he can charge you is if he knows what the substance is that you're taking. For example, if he knows it's marijuana, he can charge you, okay? But if it's a synthetic drug or a drug that is not on the health list, then he can't charge you with anything. So anything as far as a drug is concerned. That's very problematic because what's happening is that people who are taking drugs, whether it be marijuana or something else, but people who are taking drugs that are not on the list, basically walk out with nothing. They don't get charged with anything. And that's very problematic, not only for the public, but also for the people who are doing this, because there's no way of getting them into treatment and making them better drivers in the future. They continue to do what they're doing, knowing that they're immune from any kind of legal process, and that's become very, very problematic.
Right, so that's basically you're trying to close that loophole, for drug driving.
Exactly.
What's the status of your legislation that you're pushing?
Well, the legislation right now, it happens to be in my committee, and I'm trying to push it out of that committee and trying to get it passed in the Senate as well. I'm looking forward to this session. I think we have a real good chance of passing it. Actually, last year, the governor put this piece of legislation basically in the budget. and it was taken out. I'm hopeful that she does it again and that we pursue it in the budget or separately alone and go from there. But this is something that needs to be addressed to make our roads safer.
And Assemblyman, traffic safety is not just about impaired driving. It's also about, people on the roads traveling with fatigue or distracted driving. What would you tell to someone who is afraid to get out on the road this time of year? Because I know a lot of people are concerned about other people who may not even be just impaired, but just distracted.
Listen, I remember when I was learning how to drive, they kept telling you to be a defensive driver. And I think we need to bring that back again. You have to be a defensive driver. Anticipate that something may go wrong on the side of you, in front of you. Be aware of your surroundings as you're driving down the road. There's nothing else I can tell you except to do that. And to make sure you're not distracted. Make sure you're not on your phone. Make sure you're not eating. Make sure you're not smoking. Make sure you're not doing those things that for a second takes your eye off the road. Because if you do, you're putting yourself in peril. I remember raising my children, and the children would act up every once in a while, as I would assume everybody's do at one time or another. We need to make sure that you pull over, calm the situation down, and then continue on. It's defensive driving, knowing where you are, knowing what's happening around you, and then taking affirmative action to make sure everybody is safe. Not only you and the people in your car, but everybody else around you as well.
So true. Assemblyman, thank you so much for sticking with us. We're going to take a quick break, but we're going to continue our conversation right after the break, okay?
Thank you, sure.
All right, coming up, we're going to learn more about how to protect yourself, whether you're walking, biking, or in a vehicle. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us. We are back now with Syracuse State Assemblymember Bill Magnarelli. Assemblyman, we appreciate you staying with us.
Oh, again, it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so distracted walking could actually be just as dangerous as distracted driving if you think about it. An accident can take place, within 1 second if you're texting and not watching where you're going. Could you talk about why it's important to just be present this holiday season and basically, year round?
I think you just said it, okay? I mean, the way people are acting when they're driving vehicles, whether it be a car, a scooter, an e-bike, or whatever, you have to understand what's happening around you. And unfortunately, I think, as far as transportation is concerned, people feel that they have to be on their phones 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they can't take their eyes off of it. You're putting yourself in peril. You're putting yourself in peril. And you step off the curb with someone coming around the curb, even at 20 or 30 miles an hour, if they hit you, you're going to be hurt badly, and you're going to be in the hospital. These are things that we've learned, especially down in New York City, where walking, it's a way of life. People move around the city walking, using e-bikes, using scooters, things like that. And there is such a proliferation of all of this going on all at one time that if you are not taking care to make sure you know what's going on around you, you're putting yourself in jeopardy. The same holds true in Syracuse. You step off the curb, you're not walking with the light, a car comes around the corner, they can't stop. Even if they hit you at 10 miles an hour, you're going to be hurt. And that's what I'm hearing from Upstate Medical Center, from trauma units all over the place, that people just are not watching what they're doing and taking care of themselves. So I don't know anything else to say except be defensive, make sure that you're always alert to the surroundings around you, and then take action from there.
And I know a bill from earlier this year wanted to mandate teens using city bikes to wear helmets. Why is this so important to you?
Well, again, I'm trying to keep people safe, and that's the only reason, these bills kind of come up. And wearing a helmet, especially if you're a young person, makes sense to me. The bikes are something that way back when, a few years ago when we made them legal, I wish I had known all of the unintended consequences of that going forward. Again, the proliferation of their use on streets without a lot of regulation, without having them all licensed and knowing who's driving these bikes and when, has created many, many problems, which I think we should have a hearing on to really get to the bottom of what is going on. Again, New York City is the pusher of the envelope in this area. It's not only for recreation or for people getting from home to work and work to home, it's also a means by which people make their livings. And so it becomes very, very contentious as far as what can be done, what needs to be regulated. But my only concern, and where I draw the line, is I want to make everybody safe. And that's the problem that we have right now, and we're going to have to deal with it.
E-scooters is another issue. Do you believe that they should be regulated? I know we currently see them riding on sidewalks, down the wrong way on the street. That's definitely got to be an issue that I see you really taking focus on.
Absolutely. It's another one of the problems that we have with the new electric vehicles, so to speak. And again, it's something, the e-bikes, the e-scooters, these are things that we need to look at, and I believe that a hearing is definitely in order. I'm going to be pushing to have one this year.
How can everyday New Yorkers be more vigilant when they're walking, driving, or even taking public transit, for that matter?
Well, I'll tell you, again, you need to get rid of the phone while you're traveling. It's just, whether you're walking, biking, or in a car, if you're driving, you shouldn't be on the phone. And if you're walking, the same thing. If you're on the streets, you should not be on the phone. You should be looking at where you're going, your surroundings. It just seems so simple. And a lot of people, may say, Magnarelli, you don't know what you're talking about. But I do. I use the phone all the time. But if I'm going to use the phone, I'm going to stop, I'm going to go off to the side, and I'll use the phone. But when I'm going to continue on, if I'm going to cross the street, etc., that phone's in my pocket. That's where it belongs, so that you can understand what's happening around you.
I have about a minute left. I just wanted to know, lastly, what is your biggest concern, this time of year, whether it's transportation and safety-wise, or a message that you'd just like to give the viewers as, we're going into the holiday season?
Well, I love the holiday season. Merry Christmas to everybody out there, and happy holidays to everyone out there. The bottom line is we're all going to be out celebrating. Do it, but responsibly. If you're going to celebrate a little bit with one too many, do not get in a car and drive. All we ask, all you should do responsibly is don't drive. I'm not saying don't have a good time. I'm saying don't drive. And that's the type of thing we have to keep in mind. And whether it's alcoholic beverages, whether it's legal marijuana, whatever, if you are impaired, you shouldn't be behind the wheel. And that's the biggest thing I think about all the time, and what we've been talking about in this program. Being aware of your surroundings, make sure you know where you are, and stay off the phone when you're traveling. That's all there is to it.
Assemblymember Bill Magnarelli, I appreciate your time. Always love having you on the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, still to come, we talk with the Deputy Commissioner for the DMV on a campaign to get drunk people off the roads. Stay with us. In Focus, we'll be right back. Welcome Welcome back to In Focus as we discuss traffic safety during this holiday season. We're joined now by Mary Tanner-Richter. She is the Deputy Commissioner for the DMV, and we are so glad to have you here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, so can you start out by talking about some statistics, about people, drunk people, getting behind the wheel? Is it much higher this time of year? What are you seeing?
So I want to tell you some sobering statistics first, just overall, that every day there are approximately 34 people in the United States that are killed in a drunk driving crash. That's one person every 42 minutes is killed because of someone else's bad decision. And what we know is that the numbers of fatalities rise during the 100 days, deadliest days of summer, and then also during the holiday times. Really, it starts at Thanksgiving and it goes right in through the new year, with high points or low points, depending on how you look at it, being Christmas and New Year's.
That's really sad and scary. I was wondering, is it the highest during the Christmas to New Year's time compared to other holidays, or is it, just because it's the time, of joy where people are out drinking and maybe overindulging?
Well, it's really any of those holidays. Memorial Day we have high numbers there. So it's any of these big holidays, which Christmas and New Year's are two of the biggest holidays, where you have more people getting together, having their parties, the holiday parties, more festivities, and more people on the road.
Yeah, it's kind of concerning to me too. It's just like, you shouldn't be doing it, but sometimes it just happens. And I know you also have this Buzz Driving is Drunk Driving as well campaign, and it's released year round. Could you tell us a little bit about that and talk about the importance of telling people that, that is actually, you are impaired. You should not be getting behind the wheel.
Absolutely. So that's a NHTSA initiative that we do here in New York as well. And it's exactly that. It's letting people know that it's not the falling down drunk. That isn't what we're talking about when we're saying you shouldn't be behind the wheel. Obviously, you shouldn't be then. But anytime you start to feel different, and that's at very low levels of alcohol, you should not be behind the wheel. And that's the message. When you have that first drink, don't drive. Right. Because we know in the 2023 that over 2,000 of those fatal crashes involving alcohol impaired drivers, they were under that .08. Most people think that if you're below an .08, you're good to drive. That's not true. People at low levels, even a .01, can be impaired and shouldn't be behind the wheel.
As you talk about that, I'm thinking about the fact that I have 3 children, 2 of which are young adults. They really take to heart that Buzz Driving is Drunk Driving, and they do find a designated driver or they get an Uber. And I'm loving the fact that they take this so seriously. Can you talk a little bit about some of the symptoms that people may experience when they start to kind of change in their personality, or their biology starts to change because of alcohol?
Sure. So I want to be careful in what I'm saying, because some people will not show these symptoms and still shouldn't be behind the wheel. So I just want to be careful with that you don't necessarily have to see these things before that person shouldn't drive. But it is the little things. It's the change of personality. Someone's personality, they might be acting a little bit, larger than life, larger than normal. Their speech may be a little bit louder. They tend to, what they're saying, they might trip over words a little bit. Their coordination starts to, be a little in question. Those are the types of things to look for. But again, I would be really careful about thinking, well, I didn't see those things. Because a lot of times people will say, they seemed fine to me. That is not the standard that we should be using to decide whether or not someone should be behind the wheel. And oftentimes those people who are looking for that in their friend, they may have had a drink or two also. So they're not, quite the ones that should be making that judgment call.
So true. And I always think about when I was a young adult, because, we've all gone through it. What if somebody insists they're not impaired? And what should you do? And that's such a precarious position to be in when you are sober, or you see somebody else as impaired, but they don't see it.
And it is really hard, right?
Yeah.
Because first of all, I think the no one wants confrontation, especially not at a festivity. You know, you don't want to be the wet blanket, but you have to be. And if someone wants to drive and they've been drinking, you know, start off by saying, hey, there are other opportunities. Get an Uber, get a Lyft, try to get their keys from them. Explain to them, I don't want you getting hurt on the roads tonight, and I don't want you hurting someone else. You know, enlist your friends. You know, there's safety in numbers, right? So if there's a group of you that are trying to get that point across, that driver may be less likely to drive. But at the end of the day, if everything fails and they get behind the wheel, two things. One, do not get in that car with them, no matter what. And two, call law enforcement, call the police. Even though it's really uncomfortable and you feel like you're maybe a bad friend, you're making the best decision and you're being the best friend for that person.
I'd rather somebody be arrested than dead.
Exactly.
Yeah. So before we let you go, I just wanted to, ask you, what are your hopes for people as they take away from this campaign and this interview in general? What do you hope people hear when they're hearing you talk today?
Well, I hope they make good decisions and make those decisions before you have that first drink. If you are the one throwing the holiday party, make sure that there are non-alcoholic beverages for, your guests so that everyone's getting home safely. And make those good decisions. I also want to put out there, even though buzz driving we think about as alcohol, people are also taking other substances. And again, we want people to know that anything you take to change how you are, that affects your ability to drive. So, cannabis, it's legal, but it's not legal to drive while under the influence of it. So buzz driving, if you feel different, you drive different, that applies to all substances, not just alcohol. We want people to have a fun, safe holiday season.
Exactly. Mary Tanner-Richter, Deputy Commissioner for the DMV, thank you so much for coming in and talking. So lovely to speak with you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.